listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
Well, hello, everyone. I have a little surprise for you. I am supervised this evening.
Hello, everyone. I'm back.
Closely supervised for a change. Not from afar. I know I'm happy to have her back. Hopefully everyone else is as well. So, did you have anything you wanted to talk about from your exploits over the last couple months? No? Okay.
Not off the top of my head anyway.
She's still recovering from her drive.
I'm very tired.
Anyway, glad that, I hope you're glad that you're going to spend some time with us tonight. Going to get into some things that, well, you'll see when we get there. When you title something Understanding Chaos, you already know it's going to be confusing. But I'm going to attempt to make it less confusing. Or I might make it more confusing. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. If you're new, it's not always like this. But we do have a lot of fun with what we talk about. Don't forget that the books are still available. Check out givegod90.com. All those good things are out there. And there's not really a need for an Israel update this evening because they're still in operations. There's tanks in Gaza. There's, you name it, it's going on. I did see a report, and I don't know how true it is, so I'm not even going to go there. It's speculation at this point. But just keep those folks over there in a lot of prayer. So, this is going to be fun. At the risk of sounding, like a conspiracy theorist. Kinda. And I probably should mention, chat is open if you want to chime in. So you can do that and we'll see it live, or you can do it later when you're listening, if you're listening later, and I'll see it later as well. I want to mention that there is a urban legend going around that talks about the CIA actually beginning the phrase conspiracy theory to debunk some folks who were looking into some of the things that they were doing. The CIA did not come up with that phrase. That phrase was used from the late 16th, early 17th century, and it actually was used as a way to understand what was actually happening in the world. Now, I will say that the CIA did begin to use it in a derogatory sense. And since about the 1950s, and it was on one of their, secretly released paperwork pieces. And since that time, it has actually been used in a derogatory manner. But prior to that, a conspiracy theorist was somebody who was trying to figure out what was going on in the world. So maybe I am a conspiracy theorist in the pre-1950 sense of the phrase. Anyway, I don't want to sound derogatory, even though we'll get into some more of that. And I don't want people to think that I'm going to mix religion and politics, but kinda, in a strange sort of a way, as I go through this. what we're going to look at, and what I hope to do, is help you sort out some things that are happening, but not exactly what's happening, more the why it's happening. So, I'm not going to sit here and do any prophecy stuff. I'm not going to sit here and do any fortune telling. I'm simply going to attempt to explain why you're seeing the things you're seeing. And because so many of us have been brought up in our various cultures and our various ways to believe certain things, certain ways, then what I need to do is give the background that's going to clarify that so that you can figure out how things are really happening. Does all that not make sense? So hopefully, this will prevent you from getting tunnel vision in the future. And we all get some tunnel vision, right? We only want to see what's right in front of us when we really need to be looking around, get the entire picture. We need to be aware of what's happening and why it's happening so that we can prepare ourselves more efficiently for what might happen in the future. So, where I'm going to start is we're going to look at what the Bible tells us about conspiracies. And then we're going to look at why this is so important today. So if you want to read those two verses.
Why do the nations rage and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth take their stand, and the rulers gather together against the Lord and against his anointed one. Psalms 21, 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm
Psalms
sorry,
2.
Psalms 2, 1 and 2.
Right.
I'm tired.
Now, it's a very fitting question to ask today. Why do the nations rage and the people plot in vain? But we're going to break this down and see what it really says in the original. The word nations in the original Hebrew is Strong's number H1471, if you're keeping score. And it's actually the word goyim. Now, we often see this word translated as Gentiles, but it can also mean a people group, a nation, every nation. It can mean a herd, or it can just refer to, a group of people standing over there somewhere. So, I don't know what you're laughing at. That wasn't funny. I haven't gotten to the fun part yet. So, I'm not used to somebody making faces at me anymore. It's just kind of one of those weird things. So anyway, that's what the word nation is translated from. So the context here is important because the word peoples in the first verse isn't the people or the peoples. It's just people. Okay? Doesn't point to a certain group because the word's not used because the definite article is not used in the original. So we could actually translate this verse as, why is everyone so angry and people devise empty plans? That's another way to translate this verse. And then David answers that question this way. The kings of the earth take a stand against Jehovah and his anointed one. Now the word kings is wrong. It's only one king. It's not plural. But another word that's not included in the translation is rulers of the earth. That's kind of odd, but okay. It kind of lumps them all together because the translators didn't understand that it was talking about one king and then a group of people who rule, and they set themselves up and lay out a foundation that challenges the Creator. Does that change the context of that verse for anybody other than me? We're going to go a little farther. Someone or something in charge is conspiring with rulers to challenge God. Now, that's what David's really saying. Now, the rulers they're talking about, they don't have to be political leaders. They don't have to be leaders of nations. They can just be influential people. They can just be people who know how to manipulate and confuse and contrive other people to get what they want done. Are you starting to see something forming here, I hope? And I'm not going to have a lot of time to go into all the detail in this particular teaching. I will in the next one, because I've still got some background to lay out for you. Now, and here's where I'm going to start to sound like one of those crazy conspiracy people, the truth is out there and all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to ask you to consider what the one entity that so many might call Satan or the devil or the enemy, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. This entity's been trying to destroy mankind since the Creator breathed the breath of life into Adam. But this particular enemy of mankind doesn't have the authority, doesn't have the power to outright destroy mankind itself, because the Creator won't allow that. However, it does have the ability to cause mankind to destroy itself. And it does this very efficiently here lately. Does it through manipulation. It does it through confusion. Does it through causing people to accept and follow unholy spirits. Think about that. When the serpent spoke to Eve, it asked a simple question, right? Did God really say? Now, had Eve just patted the serpent on the head, said, yes, he did, we'd probably be living in a very different world today. But that's not what happened. The serpent tricked her in a way. She backed herself into a corner. It's a very common theme through the Bible. You'll see that again in a second. And I could go into a lot of detail about, the first real sin involved food. And food's been an issue ongoing for mankind ever since. But that's another lesson for another time. Now, because the serpent was able to confuse and manipulate Eve, it learned a very valuable lesson. It learned that the best way to control mankind is through confusion and manipulation. And that's been happening for the last 6,000 years. Manipulating people into accepting unholy spirits, following unholy spirits. It's effective. It's very, very effective for the enemy. The Bible's filled with lessons. And often people would readily accept pagan idol worship. Here's a couple little verses about what happened at Mount Sinai.
Then all the people took off their gold earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took the gold from their hands, and with an engraving tool he fashioned it into a molten calf. And they said, "These, O Israel, are your gods, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. Then Aaron saw this. He built an altar before the calf and proclaimed, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." Exodus 32, verse 3 through 5.
Now, gods, plural, more than one. Pagan worship being used as a way to worship the Creator did not work out well for them, did it? Now, Aaron did paint himself into a corner. Now, and we could argue that Aaron was manipulated. They came to him and said, "This is what we want." He said, "No, no, no, no." They came back and said, "This is what we want." And he said, "Look." And he tried to get out of it in kind of a way. Instead of sticking to his guns and saying no, he said, "Look, if you bring me the gold from the ears of your wives and children." Now, he was thinking, I'm not going to go steal the gold, my wife's earrings, my kids' earrings. But they did. They did. He had backed himself into a corner that he couldn't get out of. He had no real choice. The point is that through confusion and manipulation, the enemy is still trying to destroy mankind. And, he uses a lot of different people to do this. Now think about Aaron. Had he been completely guilty, why would the Creator choose him to be the first high priest? Why would Aaron be still in the running, so to speak, for such an honorable office? But because he tried to talk him out of it, to not do it, but he was probably also a little kind of scared for his life, because they wanted, these folks were getting to the point where they wanted something to happen, right? We often get into trouble when we don't stick to our guns. Is it more... That's a terrible way to say that in English. Is it more better to stick to your guns no matter what happens? Or is it more better... That is a terrible way to say that in English. Sorry about that. Is it more efficient and effective to stand your ground? Or is it more efficient and effective to attempt to justify standing your ground? Well, it's obviously not very effective if you try to justify it. No, God said we shouldn't even touch it. Bring me the earrings from your wives and your children. Same outcome. Same outcome. They were manipulated, they were used. So as David writes in Psalm 2 that a king or the head of this group of influential people are conspiring against the Creator, people are groaning. People are complaining. People are moaning. People are whining. But it's really not worth their time. It's empty. It's meaningless. Look at what's happening in the world today. Now, it doesn't matter what nation we're talking about, what country we're talking about, what political country we're talking about. Do the leaders of these nations really want conflict? Most of them don't. So why is there conflict? Could it be that they're being manipulated in another attempt to have mankind destroy itself? I think we can make a strong argument for that. Now, here's where I have to add a caveat, okay? There's always exceptions to everything we say. And this is it. There are some very evil people in the world. That's just the way it is. I'll get into more of that Monday. But the reality is some of these folks think they're far more important than they actually are. Because evil will destroy part of itself for no other reason than the one who's actually the head. He doesn't care. And if, if some person thinks they're so important that the enemy of God won't destroy him, he's wrong, because you're still part of mankind. He still considers you scum. He still considers you useless, even though you might be serving his purpose at the moment. And he's still going to destroy you in the end. It's that simple. Evil will use the destruction of evil people because it considers mankind, and mankind must be destroyed at all cost. You see, when we step back and see a larger picture, what we begin to realize is that the leaders of political nations, what they really want those nations to prosper. They want their people to be happy. They don't want turmoil in their country, because turmoil in a country is a bad sign for a political leader. They want everybody to be happy. They want everybody to be, it's okay. We'll get along, right? But some political leaders in the world today, as throughout history, some they actually have been manipulated into following unholy spirits. And if you're paying attention, you can see which ones they are. And some of them might surprise you. Now, I said the other day that the current conflict in the Middle East is setting the stage for something much larger, and I still believe it is. So in the next episode, we're going to look for, and I'm going to try to explain it the best I can, and it might seem like I'm kind of going in circles for some of you, and others are kind of going, oh, that's why. But that's okay. What we're going to do, I'm not going to look at it from a political point of view, but hopefully I'm going to be able to explain a much larger picture and point some things out that you may be a victim of. Believe it or not, you may be a victim of manipulation. And you might be going, well, how can I be a victim of manipulation when I'm, I do the best I can with the information I have. I do this and I do that and I don't do this and I don't do that. It's okay. You'll see. But it's going to take me a few minutes to explain it. And that's why I need a little more time than what I've got left today to do that. So this is going to wind up being a 2 or 3 part lesson. And if you need to, you can listen to individuals and then go back and play it all at one time. So hopefully it makes sense. But what I want you to have as much information as you can have, but I don't want to overwhelm you with it either. You've got to be able to digest that information so that you can begin to understand the chaos that's going on now. Because this is the same thing that's been happening for 6,000 years. It's just had a long time to be able to perfect it, to be able to build on it, and interweave some things that cross people groups, it crosses nations, it crosses religions, and no one is immune. No one is immune to what's going on. So, again, at the risk of sounding crazy, hopefully by the time I'm done, you'll be going, well, he's not as nuts as he sounds. I hope. So until Monday.
Everyone be blessed.
Absolutely. Many, many blessings, everyone.